Good day, everyone. Today, I invite you to embark on a journey of exploration, introspection, and discovery as we delve into one of the most profound questions humanity has ever pondered. What is God? God, in its essence, transcends simple definitions and is often perceived differently by individuals, cultures, and religions. However, to gain a deeper understanding of this concept, let us explore 7 key points that illuminate the meaning of God from both a spiritual and philosophical perspective. To begin our exploration of the nature of God, we must first understand the concept of infinite consciousness. This idea transcends any specific religious or philosophical framework and points to a universal truth shared across many cultures and belief systems. At its core, infinite consciousness suggests that God is not merely a being or an entity, but an all-encompassing awareness, a presence that exists beyond the limitations of the material world and is not confined by time or space. Imagine for a moment that you, as an individual, could expand your consciousness to encompass the entire universe. You would no longer be limited by your physical form or personal experiences. This is, in a sense, how infinite consciousness operates. It is not limited by the boundaries of a single human life or mind, but extends across the entire cosmos, embracing everything, from the smallest particle to the largest galaxies. Arise. In this understanding, God's consciousness is not separate from the universe, but is the consciousness within everything. Every atom, every being, every moment of time is a reflection of this all-encompassing awareness. Just as our individual consciousness allows us to be aware of ourselves, the infinite consciousness of God allows for the awareness of all that is. A vast, unified consciousness that contains all knowledge, all wisdom, and all experience. One of the most profound aspects of infinite consciousness is its ability to unify everything in existence. Because it transcends time and space, it connects all beings and all forms of life in an inseparable web. In this sense, God is not simply an abstract idea or a force in the background of the universe. God is the very foundation of existence itself. This interconnectedness means that every thought, action, and experience is part of a larger whole. And each individual is not separate but intricately woven into the fabric of universal consciousness. This concept also challenges the perception of separateness that we often hold. We might see ourselves as individuals, isolated from others and from the world around us, but in the framework of infinite consciousness, we are all manifestations of the same divine awareness. Every person, every creature, and every element of nature is an expression of this divine consciousness. We are, in a sense, God experiencing itself through different forms. In many spiritual traditions, the journey toward enlightenment or divine understanding is described as a process of expanding one's own consciousness to align with this infinite awareness. The more we awaken to this broader, higher consciousness, the more we come to understand our true nature and our connection to the whole of existence. It is through the expansion of our consciousness that we are able to transcend the ego, our personal identity, and the illusion of separation, and recognize ourselves as part of the divine. This journey often involves practices like meditation, prayer, and contemplation, methods that help us quiet the noise of the external world and tune into the deeper, subtle layers of awareness within. As we open ourselves to the experience of infinite consciousness, we begin to see the divine in all things. We realize that God is not something out there to be found, but something that exists within us and around us, constantly. Another dimension of God as infinite consciousness is that this awareness is not bound by the linear nature of time or the spatial limitations of the physical world. While we as humans experience time and space in a very structured way, God's consciousness is timeless and omnipresent. It has no beginning or end, and it is not limited by the physical constraints of the material universe. This timeless quality means that everything in the universe is eternally known to God, as it exists in the eternal now in heaven. Out of this truth, life can also be illustrated by the experience of those who have died. This aspect also helps explain many spiritual teachings that describe God as omniscient and omnipresent. If God's consciousness is not confined by time, then everything past, present, and future exists in a continuous, eternal now. This suggests that all knowledge, wisdom, and understanding are already part of this divine consciousness, accessible to us when we tap into it. Our full integrity, our all-knowing presence, accessible to us when we tap into it. It implies that through spiritual awakening, we can access a deeper understanding of the mysteries of existence, not from an intellectual standpoint, but from a direct experiential awareness of the divine. Ultimately, when we view God as infinite consciousness, we are invited to recognize that we have the capacity to expand our own awareness. This expansion isn't necessarily about accumulating more knowledge, but about shifting our perception and realizing the interconnectedness of all life. It is about awakening to a state of being where we no longer view ourselves as isolated individuals, but as integral parts of a vast, intelligent, and divine network of consciousness. In consciousness is the knowledge that the universe is one consciousness, habit, and intelligence that never changes. In this light, spirituality becomes less about worshiping an external deity and more about realizing that we are expressions of the divine consciousness itself. The more we align with this universal awareness, the closer we come to understanding the true nature of God, and in turn, our own deeper purpose. In conclusion, God as infinite consciousness is a profound and expansive concept that invites us to view reality from a higher perspective. It encourages us to transcend our individual egos, recognize the unity of all existence, and tap into the boundless awareness that connects us to the divine. As we explore this idea further, we realize that in seeking to understand the meaning of God, we are in essence seeking to understand ourselves, as we are ultimately one with the infinite consciousness that is God. God as the source of creation is a concept that spans across virtually every spiritual tradition and philosophical framework. The idea that God is the source of all creation suggests that everything in the universe, from the smallest particles of matter to the grandest galaxies, originates from a divine source, a force or energy that is the origin of existence itself. This understanding challenges our perception of the world as a collection of isolated, random events and instead offers a worldview where everything is interconnected and exists because of a single, unifying force: God. At the deepest level, understanding God as the source of creation means acknowledging that everything that exists is not separate from the divine. Every atom, every living being, every natural phenomenon, and even the laws of the universe themselves are expressions of God's creative force. Just as a painter's masterpiece is an extension of their inner vision, the universe, with its complexity, beauty, and design, is an extension of God's will, purpose, and presence. This perspective brings a profound sense of awe and reverence toward the world around us, recognizing that every aspect of creation, no matter how seemingly insignificant, is infused with divine essence. From this standpoint, creation is not a one-time event that occurred long ago. It is a continuous process, an ongoing expression of the divine. The universe is ever evolving, constantly unfolding from this initial source of creation. This suggests that God is not a distant, passive creator who set the universe in motion and then stepped away, but rather an active, sustaining presence within all things. God's creative force flows through everything, allowing for growth, change, and the ongoing manifestation of life itself. Just as the sun's energy continually fuels life on earth, God's creative energy continually sustains and renews the universe. In recognizing God as the source of creation, we begin to see that everything in the universe, including ourselves, is an expression of God's will. This provides a sense of connection between the divine and the material world. It encourages us to view our lives and the world around us not as accidental or random, but as part of a larger, meaningful pattern. We are not separate from God, but intimately connected to the divine source that sustains us. This realization can foster a deep sense of purpose and meaning, as we recognize that we are all part of a grand design, an unfolding of divine creativity. The future rises when we confront our limiting beliefs, confront our fears and doubts, Another important implication of God as the source of creation is the concept of divine intelligence. The intricate order of the universe, the laws of physics, the complexity of life forms, the harmony of nature, all point to an intelligent design. Whether we look at the structure of a flower, the movement of the stars, or the processes within our own bodies, we see an underlying intelligence at work, a design that is both beautiful and precise. Focusing on this revelation, this intelligence is not the product of human intellect, but a reflection of the divine intelligence of God that permeates all of creation. End quote. Moreover, God as the source of creation offers us a perspective on the divine that is intimately personal. It suggests that we are not mere bystanders in the universe, but active participants in this ongoing creation. Every thought we think, every action we take is part of the larger creative process. This empowers us to recognize our own creative abilities, whether through artistic expression, intellectual pursuits, or the way we live our lives. If God is the source of all creation, then we too are co-creators, contributing to the world in our own unique ways. Finally, this view of God as the source of creation challenges the notion of duality. The idea that the material world and the spiritual world are separate. Instead, it proposes that the physical world is not separate from the divine, but an integral part of it. Every element of the universe, every form of life, and every experience is a manifestation of God's creative energy. This perspective encourages us to see the sacred in the everyday, to recognize the divine in all aspects of life, and to treat the world with the reverence and respect it deserves. In conclusion, God as the source of creation is a powerful and transformative understanding that invites us to view the universe not as a random or meaningless collection of events, but as a living expression of divine will and intelligence. It calls us to recognize our own connection to this source and to participate actively in the ongoing creative process. By seeing God as the source of all creation, we come to understand our own lives as part of a greater, sacred unfolding, imbued with meaning, purpose, and divine potential. So, God's love is one of the most fundamental and transformative aspects of divine nature. Across different religions and spiritual traditions, the idea of God as love serves as a unifying principle, the foundation upon which all other aspects of God are built. The concept of God as love goes beyond simply describing an emotion or a feeling. It speaks to the essence of God's being and how God interacts with the world. The end of God is not just some aspect of God's love. God's love is not conditional, limited, or bound by human understanding of love, but is an all-encompassing, unconditional force that exists beyond the boundaries of time, space, and human experience. First and foremost, God's love is unconditional. This means that it is not based on our actions, our worthiness, or our adherence to any particular set of rules. Unlike human love, which can often be influenced by emotions, expectations, or conditions, God's love is a pure, constant presence that exists regardless of our behavior or circumstances. It is not something we earn or deserve, but rather something that is freely given, simply because it is the very nature of God. This unconditional love is a fundamental aspect of the divine that offers comfort, peace, and healing, especially when we are confronted with pain, loss, or hardship. It assures us that no matter what we experience, we are always loved by the divine. God's love also transcends boundaries. In human experience, love is often confined to particular relationships between family members, friends, or romantic partners. But God's love is universal, extending to all beings regardless of race, gender, or background. This expansive love is available to everyone, everywhere, at all times. It invites us to recognize that all people, all creatures, and all of nature are recipients of this divine love. It calls us to expand our own capacity for love and to embrace others with compassion, understanding, and empathy. Another key element of God's love is the transformative power it has in our lives. Divine love is not passive or abstract. It is an active force that moves us toward greater wholeness, healing, and unity. When we open ourselves to God's love, we experience a profound shift in our consciousness. From fear, separation, and ego-based thinking to love, connection, and selflessness. This transformation is not just a personal experience, but extends outward, encouraging us to love and serve others with the same depth of compassion that God demonstrates. It calls us to be agents of love in the world, to create peace, to heal wounds, and to nurture relationships based on kindness and respect. In this sense, God as love is the ultimate force of creation and sustenance. Just as the sun's light nourishes all living things, so too does God's love nourish and sustain the universe. Everything in creation exists because of this divine love, and everything is connected through it. From the smallest act of kindness to the grandest gestures of love, each is a reflection of God's love in the world. Furthermore, God's love is a source of inspiration and strength. In times of difficulty or uncertainty, when we feel lost or disconnected, God's love is always available to guide us back to our center, reminding us of our intrinsic worth and our connection to the divine. This love empowers us to overcome fear, doubt, and despair, and to rise above the challenges we face. It encourages us to trust in the goodness of life, to believe in the possibility of healing, and to live with a sense of hope and purpose. In conclusion, God as love is a central and transformative understanding of the divine. It invites us to experience the world through the lens of unconditional love, to see ourselves and others as beloved expressions of the divine, and to live with compassion, kindness, and generosity. God's love is not just an abstract idea. It is a living, active force that sustains and transforms all things. By connecting to God's love, we are empowered to embody that love in our own lives and to create a world that reflects the divine compassion that resides within each of us. God as love is one of the most profound and universally acknowledged aspects of the divine. Across various religions, spiritual traditions, and philosophical systems, God's nature is often expressed as an infinite, unconditional, and ever-present love. This concept invites us to view the divine not as a distant and austere being, but as a compassionate and nurturing force that actively sustains the universe. The idea of God as love offers us a profound shift in perspective, moving away from fear, judgment, or separation toward connection, acceptance, and profound peace. At the core of God's love is its unconditional nature. Unlike human love, which can be subject to conditions, such as approval, merit, or reciprocity, divine love exists without expectation or requirement. It is not dependent on our actions, choices, or how worthy we may feel at any given moment. This unconditional love offers us a profound sense of peace, knowing that no matter who we are or what we have done, we are always accepted by the divine. So, it does not fluctuate with our successes or failures, but remains constant, eternal, and all-encompassing. This is a love that nurtures, heals, and elevates, reminding us that we are worthy of divine care simply because we exist. Divine love as unconditional acceptance serves as a powerful antidote to feelings of guilt, shame, and inadequacy that many of us carry. It allows us to release the fear that we must be perfect in order to be loved, which is a profound source of liberation. God's love encourages us to embrace our imperfections, our mistakes, and our humanity. This kind of love teaches us to extend the same compassion to ourselves and others, recognizing that we all carry the potential for growth, healing, and transformation. It fosters an understanding that love is not a commodity to be earned, but a gift that is freely given to all. Furthermore, God as love transcends all human distinctions, uniting all of creation in one divine expression. Human love is often bound by borders, familial, cultural, social, or political. We may find ourselves loving one person but not another based on differences, or perhaps holding prejudices that hinder our ability to connect with people who seem different from ourselves. But God's love is universal. It does not favor one group over another, nor is it limited by the boundaries that humans create. In this divine love, there is no us and them, no division, no separation. Everyone, everywhere, is an object of God's love, equally deserving of the divine's affection and care. This universal love invites us to see the inherent dignity and divinity within every being. It calls us to expand our capacity for empathy, compassion, and understanding. In a world that is often divided by differences in race, religion, nationality, or ideology, God's love offers us a vision of unity. It reminds us that our shared humanity and shared connection to the divine is what binds us together, far more than any external differences. This divine love compels us to act with kindness, understanding, and grace, seeing the face of God in all people and every living creature. It encourages us to break down the walls of separation and to act in service of one another, creating a more just and compassionate world. God's love is not only about acceptance and unity, it is also about transformation and healing. The love of the divine has a unique ability to bring us into alignment with our highest selves, catalyzing personal and spiritual growth. When we open ourselves to God's love, we are bathed in a transformative energy that heals the wounds of the past, forgives our shortcomings, and awakens us to a higher purpose. Divine love is not passive or inert. It is active and dynamic, constantly drawing us closer to our true nature. This love encourages us to shed the layers of fear, ego, and separation that we have accumulated throughout our lives, and to step into our truest form of self-expression, one that is rooted in love, compassion, and unity. This healing power of love is particularly profound in moments of suffering. When we encounter pain, loss, or hardship, it can feel like the world is falling apart, and we may experience feelings of loneliness or despair. However, in those moments, divine love stands as a source of solace, reminding us that we are not alone. It is in these times of struggle that God's love often becomes most palpable, guiding us through darkness and providing comfort when we feel lost. The divine love offers us the strength to persevere and to emerge from hardship with greater resilience, wisdom, and compassion. Ultimately, God as love calls us to embody love in all of our relationships and interactions. We are not merely recipients of divine love, we are also called to be channels of that love in the world. Just as the sun radiates its warmth and light to all, regardless of who or what they are, so too are we invited to share the love we receive from God with others. In doing so, we contribute to a world that reflects the beauty, peace, and joy of the divine. This divine love is not limited by any one expression. It manifests in countless ways, from a kind word to a compassionate act, from the work we do to the way we care for ourselves and others. Every moment of love we give is an extension of God's eternal love, and every act of love contributes to the healing and transformation of the world. In conclusion, understanding God as love opens us to a deeper connection with the divine and with one another. It reminds us that love is not merely a feeling or an emotion, but the very nature of existence. This love is universal, unconditional, and transformative, offering healing, peace, and unity. By embracing God as love, we are invited to live in alignment with this divine force, to extend love to others, to embrace our own imperfections, and to see the divine in all of creation. In this way, God's love becomes the foundation upon which we build a more compassionate, harmonious, and enlightened world. God as inner guidance offers us a transformative way of experiencing the divine in our everyday lives. Rather than perceiving God as a distant or external force, we are invited to recognize God as a presence within us, providing wisdom, direction, and support as we navigate the complexities of life. This concept speaks to the idea that God's guidance is available to us at all times, not just in moments of crisis, and that this inner wisdom is always accessible to those who seek it. At its core, God as inner guidance suggests that we are not alone in our journey. Whether we are facing a difficult decision, feeling lost or confused, or simply searching for a sense of meaning, divine guidance is always available to help us find our way. This guidance comes not through external voices or dramatic signs, but through the subtle nudges of our own inner knowing. It is a quiet, steady presence that speaks to us through intuition, inspiration, and deep inner peace. This inner voice may not always be loud or forceful, but it is clear and persistent, gently guiding us toward what is true, right, and good. Recognizing God as inner guidance requires a shift in perspective. In a world that often prioritizes external sources of knowledge, such as authority figures, societal norms, or technological advances, we are invited to turn inward and trust our own inner wisdom. This process of tuning into the divine guidance within us involves quieting the distractions of the external world and attuning ourselves to the still, calm voice that speaks from within. It is through practices such as meditation, prayer, mindfulness, and self-reflection that we create space to hear this guidance clearly. This inner guidance is often described as a gut feeling or a sense of knowing that transcends logic or reasoning. It can come in moments of stillness, in dreams, or through a deep sense of clarity that arises in the heart. When we listen to this inner voice, we are often led toward actions that align with our highest good, even if they defy conventional wisdom or societal expectations. The more we trust and follow this guidance, the more we come to recognize that it is a reflection of the divine wisdom within us, a wisdom that is deeply aligned with God's will for our lives. That is our life's purpose. That is the direction we should be heading. Moreover, God as inner guidance invites us to cultivate a deeper relationship with our own intuition and spiritual wisdom. It is not just about receiving guidance in moments of need, but about developing a constant, ongoing dialogue with the divine within. As we learn to listen more attentively to our inner voice, we begin to develop greater clarity, confidence, and peace in our daily lives. This guidance is not just for big decisions or life-altering moments, but for the small, everyday choices that shape our lives. Whether it is choosing how to respond in a challenging conversation, deciding what path to take in our careers, or determining how to care for our bodies, God's inner guidance provides us with the wisdom to make choices that reflect our highest potential. In times of uncertainty or struggle, this inner guidance becomes a source of strength and reassurance. When we are unsure of what to do or feel overwhelmed by the challenges in front of us, God's presence within us can provide clarity and comfort. The more we learn to listen to this inner wisdom, the more we begin to trust that we are being guided, step by step, along the right path. Ultimately, God as inner guidance invites us to cultivate a life of spiritual attunement, to live in alignment with the divine will that resides within us. This is not a passive experience, but an active engagement in listening, trusting, and acting upon the guidance that arises within. By doing so, we create a life that is more aligned with our true nature, more fulfilling, and more connected to the divine purpose that we each carry. In recognizing God as inner guidance, we are reminded that the divine is not separate from us, but is always within us, guiding us toward our highest good and helping us navigate the challenges and opportunities that life presents. In conclusion, God as inner guidance offers us a profound way of experiencing the divine presence in our lives. It invites us to trust our inner wisdom, to listen to the subtle guidance that arises within us, and to align our actions with divine will. God as the divine presence within all things is a profound and expansive concept that invites us to see the sacred in every aspect of existence. This perspective challenges us to expand our understanding of God beyond the idea of a distant, separate deity, and instead recognize that the divine is woven into the very fabric of life itself. God as divine presence is not limited to any specific place, time, or form. It is ever present, encompassing everything from the grandest celestial bodies to the smallest particles of matter. It is the unifying force that permeates all of creation and sustains it, connecting everything in a living, vibrant tapestry of life. This concept encourages us to realize that God is not confined to sacred spaces like temples or churches, but that the divine presence is everywhere. Whether we are in nature, in the city, or in the comfort of our own homes, God is present. In the breeze, the earth beneath our feet, the people we interact with, and the thoughts that arise within us. The divine is not something out there to be sought in a far-off place, but is intimately present within and around us. This realization can profoundly alter the way we approach the world, encouraging us to see the divine in all things and to treat every moment as sacred. God's divine presence is often described as being immanent, that is, present within the very essence of creation, and transcendent, meaning that it exists beyond the limitations of the physical world. This dual nature of the divine allows for a deeper connection to the sacred. God's immanence means that we can experience the divine directly through our senses, emotions, and consciousness. Whether we are contemplating a beautiful sunset, holding a loved one's hand, or meditating in silence, we are invited to feel God's presence in these moments. Transcendence, on the other hand, speaks to the infinite, boundless nature of the divine that exists beyond time and space. It reminds us that God is not limited by our human understanding or the confines of the material world, but encompasses all of reality, both known and unknown. Recognizing God as the divine presence within all things also encourages us to cultivate mindfulness and awareness. If the divine is present in all aspects of life, then every moment becomes an opportunity to connect with the sacred. This presence is often felt as a sense of peace, joy, or deep knowing. By tuning into this divine presence, we can cultivate a deeper awareness of our thoughts, actions, and emotions, realizing that each moment is an opportunity to align ourselves more fully with the divine will. Additionally, God's divine presence is often experienced through a sense of inner peace and spiritual fulfillment. When we feel disconnected or lost, it is often because we have forgotten our inherent connection to the divine. However, when we take the time to reflect, meditate, or simply be present in the moment, we begin to experience that deep inner knowing that God is with us, guiding, supporting, and loving us unconditionally. In this way, God's presence becomes a source of strength and guidance, a foundation upon which we can build our lives, regardless of the external circumstances. At the top of the mountains or in the Dead Sea, life may be very, very scary, very, very dark. This concept also calls us to act with reverence and responsibility toward all of creation. If God is present within everything, then each action, each interaction, each choice we make has spiritual significance. We are called to honor the divine presence in all people, animals, plants, and the environment. This awareness leads us to make choices that reflect our deep respect for the sacredness of life and our interconnectedness with all beings. It invites us to live with greater care, kindness, and empathy, understanding that every act, no matter how small, contributes to the larger tapestry of creation. In conclusion, seeing God as the divine presence within all things invites us to experience the sacredness of life in every moment. It encourages us to recognize the divine immanence in all aspects of the world, from nature to our own inner being, and to live with a heightened sense of mindfulness and reverence. This understanding also calls us to live responsibly, knowing that we are all interconnected and that each choice we make has spiritual significance. In embracing the divine presence within all things, we are reminded that the sacred is not far away but is within us, around us, and present at all times. God as the sustainer of life is a key concept that reflects the continuous, nurturing, and sustaining role the divine plays in the universe. While God as the creator is often associated with the initial act of bringing the universe into being, God as the sustainer emphasizes the ongoing care and maintenance of all creation. This divine sustenance is not a one-time event, but a continuous, ever-present action that enables life to thrive, evolve, and remain connected. In this view, God is not a distant entity that created the universe and then withdrew, but a constant, nurturing presence that sustains everything, everywhere, at all times. Life is like a garden. One way to understand God as the sustainer is through the lens of nature. The natural world provides countless examples of divine sustenance: the cycles of life and death, the seasons, the growth of plants, and the birth of new life. These processes are not random or chaotic, but are part of an ordered system that reflects the divine intelligence and care. The very laws of nature, gravity, magnetism, the movement of celestial bodies, and the processes of biological life are manifestations of God's sustaining presence in the universe. Just as the earth receives sunlight and rain, and just as plants grow and bear fruit, we too are sustained by divine energy that nourishes our bodies, minds, and spirits. Beyond the natural world, God as the sustainer is also present in our personal lives. We are sustained in every moment by divine guidance, inspiration, and support. From the air we breathe to the food we eat, From the wisdom we receive to the relationships we nurture, all of these are gifts of divine sustenance. In times of difficulty, when we may feel disconnected or unsupported, this sustaining presence reminds us that we are never truly alone. Social presence becomes the defining presence. We are sustained on the view of our imagination, the belief that God is with us. It assures us that, no matter the challenges we face, there is a constant source of life, energy, and wisdom that supports us, and that we can always tap into this divine sustenance for strength and resilience. God as the sustainer also emphasizes the idea of continuous transformation. Just as the universe is in a constant state of flux, with galaxies evolving, stars being born and dying, and life on Earth adapting and evolving, so too are we constantly being nourished and transformed by divine presence. This ongoing process of transformation is not always immediately visible, but it is always at work. Whether it is through personal growth, healing, or the unfolding of new possibilities, God's sustaining power ensures that we are never stagnant, but are always evolving toward our highest potential. At a spiritual level, God as the sustainer offers us an invitation to trust in the divine care and provision that is always available to us. It calls us to have faith that we are being constantly nurtured by a loving divine presence. This trust allows us to live with a sense of peace and security, knowing that even in uncertain times, we are not abandoned, but are being sustained by a higher power that supports and nurtures us. Additionally, understanding God as the sustainer of life calls us to responsibility. If God sustains all life, then it becomes our duty to care for the world around us, to protect the environment, nurture relationships, and act in ways that sustain the well-being of others. By living in alignment with this sustaining power, we can contribute to the health and flourishing of all life, recognizing that we are part of a greater system that requires our active participation. In conclusion, God as the sustainer of life reflects the ongoing nurturing presence that supports all of creation. From the cycles of nature to the spiritual nourishment we receive in our lives, divine sustenance is the force that allows life to thrive and evolve. It encourages us to trust in the continuous care of the divine and to live with the understanding that we are always being supported. This realization also invites us to live responsibly, ensuring that we honor and sustain all life through our actions and choices, contributing to the flourishing of the world around us. God as the ultimate reality is a concept that speaks to the transcendent, ineffable, and limitless nature of the divine. It suggests that God is the fundamental reality of existence, the source from which all things arise and to which all things return. Unlike the finite and material world, which is subject to change, decay, and limitation, God as the ultimate reality is eternal, unchanging, and beyond the confines of time and space. This understanding invites us to contemplate the nature of God as not just a being or force within the universe, but the very essence of existence itself. At its core, God as the ultimate reality means that all of creation is an expression of the divine. Every object, every being, every thought, and every experience is a manifestation of this ultimate reality. It is as if the entire universe is an intricate, vast expression of God, and everything that exists is a reflection of the divine. This understanding helps us to transcend the illusion of separation, recognizing that we are not separate from God, but are a part of this divine reality. We are not isolated entities, but integral components of a greater whole. An eternal, interconnected web of existence that is one with the divine. This knowing, this concept also emphasizes the idea of God as beyond human comprehension. While we may be able to experience glimpses of the divine through our senses, our intellect, and our spiritual practices, God as the ultimate reality is ultimately beyond our full understanding. It is not something that can be grasped by logic or reason alone, but something that must be experienced directly, often through moments of deep insight, spiritual awakening, or mystical encounter. The ultimate reality is the source of all meaning, the ground of being from which all existence arises, and the final mystery that transcends all human concepts and categories. In this sense, God as ultimate reality calls us to embrace mystery and awe. The divine is not something to be fully explained or defined, but something to be revered and experienced. This perspective encourages humility and openness, recognizing that the divine is greater than any of our limited human perceptions. It invites us to approach life with a sense of wonder and reverence, recognizing that every moment contains the potential for encountering the divine. Finally, God as the ultimate reality is also an invitation to return to our true nature. Just as all things arise from and return to the divine, so too are we called to return to our deepest essence, the divine within us. This journey is one of spiritual awakening, where we come to realize that we are not separate from the ultimate reality, but are expressions of it. Everything comes together is our true home within. By reconnecting with this divine essence within, we align ourselves with the ultimate truth of existence, living with greater clarity, purpose, and peace. In conclusion, God as the ultimate reality represents the transcendent, ineffable nature of the divine. It reminds us that the divine is the source and essence of all things, and that everything we experience is a manifestation of this ultimate reality. This understanding calls us to live with awe and humility, recognizing that we are part of a greater, interconnected whole. It also invites us to return to our true nature, reconnecting with the divine essence within, and experiencing life from the perspective of the ultimate reality. God's infinite wisdom is an essential aspect of understanding the divine that invites us to see God as the source of all knowledge, understanding, and guidance. Unlike human wisdom, which is limited by our experiences, biases, and understanding of the world, divine wisdom is all-encompassing, eternal, and beyond the confines of human limitations. God's wisdom encompasses not only the knowledge of the present moment, but also the infinite potential of the future and the deep mysteries of the past. To understand God as infinite wisdom is to acknowledge that the divine knows the intricate patterns of the universe and human experience in ways that surpass our understanding, yet invites us to participate in this knowledge, if we are open to it. One of the key aspects of God's infinite wisdom is its ability to see the interconnectedness of all things. Humans often operate with a limited perspective, seeing only a fragment of the larger picture. We may judge situations, people, or events based on our immediate experiences or desires without fully comprehending the broader context in which they exist. However, God, in divine wisdom, sees the entire tapestry of existence, past, present, and future. This wisdom allows the divine to understand how every action, choice, and event is interconnected, how every person and experience plays a role in the unfolding of the grand story of existence. God's wisdom is not fragmented or limited, but is complete, holistic, and interconnected, guiding us toward making decisions that align with this greater harmony. Divine wisdom is also imbued with perfect timing. One of the ways that God's wisdom becomes evident in our lives is through the realization that everything unfolds in its own time. Our human impatience often drives us to rush or force outcomes, but divine wisdom knows the right moment for every event and decision. It teaches us to trust that the timing of our lives is not an accident or a random occurrence, but a deliberate, purposeful unfolding. The wisdom of God is a reminder that things often need to unfold in their own time, and rushing or forcing situations can create more harm than good. When we trust in God's wisdom, we learn to accept the timing of events in our lives and surrender the need for control. Furthermore, God's infinite wisdom is reflected in the guidance it offers us through intuition, insight, and spiritual practice. While we may not have access to the full scope of divine knowledge, we are not left to wander in the dark. The wisdom of God can be accessed through our inner knowing, inspiration, and the still, small voice that speaks to our hearts. Often this wisdom comes in the form of intuition or gut feelings that guide us toward the best choices, even when we do not have all the facts. By attuning ourselves to the divine wisdom within us, we begin to make decisions that are more in alignment with our higher selves, with love and with the greater good of others. The wisdom of God is not just an abstract concept, but a living, breathing reality that guides us in every moment, if we are open and willing to listen. One of the most powerful aspects of God's infinite wisdom is that it provides us with the ability to navigate the uncertainties of life with grace and peace. Life is full of challenges, uncertainties, and moments where the path forward is unclear. It is in these moments of doubt and confusion that divine wisdom becomes our anchor. When we feel lost or unsure of what direction to take, the infinite wisdom of God can provide us with the clarity and peace that we need. It may not always come in a way that we expect. Sometimes it is through patience, sometimes through revelation, or sometimes through the support of others. But divine wisdom is always present, offering us guidance when we need it most. Finally, God's wisdom is rooted in love. Divine wisdom is not about intellectual knowledge or abstract understanding, but about seeing the world through the eyes of love, compassion, and care. God's wisdom is inherently loving and compassionate, seeking the well-being and highest good of all beings. It invites us to make decisions not solely based on what is logical or pragmatic, but also in ways that promote harmony, justice, and kindness. True wisdom, as God embodies it, is not harsh or rigid, but soft and nurturing, helping us to move towards solutions that foster peace, understanding, and goodwill. So as my mom told it, in conclusion, God, as infinite wisdom, provides us with a model of knowledge and guidance that transcends human limitations. This wisdom is holistic, interconnected, and perfect in timing, offering us the ability to navigate life with grace, peace, and clarity. It is not something distant or abstract, but is available to us through intuition, inner guidance, and spiritual practices. Fat Tiger. By embracing God's wisdom, we can learn to make decisions that align with our highest good, that promote compassion and love, and that contribute to the greater harmony of the world. Divine wisdom invites us to see beyond the surface of life and understand the deeper truths that connect us all. God, as ultimate goodness, speaks to the divine nature as being the embodiment of perfect moral goodness, virtue, and righteousness. Unlike human goodness, which can be subjective, fluctuating, and influenced by circumstances or personal preferences, God's goodness is absolute, unwavering, and the standard by which all goodness is measured. The ultimate goodness of God represents the highest moral and ethical ideal, a goodness that is not only devoid of evil, but is also the active force of love, kindness, justice, and mercy in the universe. To understand God as ultimate goodness, we must first recognize that all things good in the world, acts of love, justice, beauty, kindness, and truth, are manifestations of God's divine nature. God's goodness is not limited to abstract ideas of right and wrong. It is the force that underlies every act of compassion, every moment of forgiveness, and every gesture of love. End of section 47. God as ultimate goodness is the source of all that is virtuous in the world. And it is from this divine goodness that we are invited to live our lives with integrity, honor, and compassion. As we all get safer and safer, divine goodness also calls us to a higher standard of behavior and morality. As human beings, we are often faced with choices that test our ethical principles. In these moments, the goodness of God provides us with a model of how to act in alignment with the highest moral ideals. God's goodness shows us that true goodness is not about personal gain, popularity, or power, but is rooted in love, selflessness, and service to others. It encourages us to act with kindness, humility, and compassion, putting the well-being of others before our own desires and interests. In addition, God as ultimate goodness represents the perfect expression of justice and fairness. In a world where human systems of justice can be flawed, biased, and incomplete, God's goodness ensures that perfect justice is always upheld. This divine goodness is not simply about retribution or punishment, but about restoring balance and harmony. God's justice seeks the highest good for all, balancing mercy with fairness. In times of injustice or suffering, it is the ultimate goodness of God that provides comfort and assurance, knowing that divine justice will prevail, even if it is not immediately apparent in the world. God as divine presence is an essential aspect of understanding the nature of the divine. The concept of God as presence is deeply rooted in the idea that God is not distant or detached from creation, but actively present in every moment of our lives. The divine presence transcends the physical and material world while also permeating it, filling every space and every interaction with a sacred essence. Unlike human presence, which is confined by time and space, God's presence is limitless, eternal, and ever available. Recognizing God as divine presence allows us to understand that the divine is always with us. Even in the most challenging or mundane moments of life, one of the key implications of God as divine presence is that there is no place where God is not. Many times we may feel disconnected, isolated, or distant from the divine, especially during difficult times. But when we understand God is omnipresent, we recognize that the divine is not confined to specific places or moments, but is everywhere, at all times, in nature, in our relationships, in our work, in our moments of joy and sorrow. God is present in all of it. This understanding brings comfort and a sense of connectedness, knowing that no matter where we are or what we are going through, God's presence surrounds and supports us. Moreover, God's presence is not just passive but active. The divine presence is a guiding force, leading us towards greater understanding, growth, and harmony. Through our connection with this divine presence, we are often given the clarity we need to make decisions and navigate life's challenges. This presence speaks to us through our intuition, inner peace, and aha moments of inspiration, providing us with a sense of direction and purpose. When we are open to the presence of God, we begin to feel guided and supported, as if the universe itself is aligning with our highest good. This conviction, however, is part of the flow. It only takes a single small moment to change our mind. Furthermore, God as divine presence encourages us to live in the present moment. In a world that is often consumed by past regrets or future anxieties, the idea of God as divine presence reminds us that the only place where the divine can be experienced fully is in the here and now. Being present allows us to connect with the divine in a more immediate and intimate way, as it is in the present that God's presence is most palpable. Practicing mindfulness and being aware of the divine presence in each moment helps us to cultivate peace, joy, and a deeper sense of gratitude. Another powerful aspect of God's divine presence is its ability to transform us. As we open ourselves to the presence of God, we are often changed from the inside out. The experience of God's presence can bring healing to emotional wounds, clarity to confusion, and peace to anxiety. The divine presence is a powerful force for transformation, inviting us to become more loving, compassionate, and aligned with the higher aspects of our nature. Above, it also reminds us that transformation is a continuous process, and by staying connected to God's presence, we are constantly evolving towards greater wisdom and understanding. Finally, God as divine presence invites us to recognize the sacredness of all things. When we begin to see the world through the lens of divine presence, we start to perceive everything is interconnected and imbued with a divine spark. Whether in nature, human relationships, or our own personal journey, we begin to understand that everything has a deeper significance. The divine presence teaches us to honor and respect all life, seeing the sacred in both the extraordinary and the everyday moments. In conclusion, God as divine presence emphasizes the eternal, omnipresent nature of the divine in our lives. This understanding allows us to feel connected to the divine in every moment, bringing guidance, healing, and transformation. It reminds us to be present in our lives, appreciating the sacredness of each moment and every experience. Through recognizing God's divine presence, we learn to live with greater mindfulness, compassion, and awareness of the deeper meaning that underlies all aspects of existence. The greatest fundamental truth about life, though, is that we are here to be alive. Life is a spiritual experience, stranded in time and space. God as unconditional love is perhaps one of the most transformative aspects of understanding the divine. Unlike human love, which can be influenced by conditions, expectations, or limitations, divine love is pure, limitless, and constant. It is a love that is not based on what we do or don't do, but simply because we exist. This unconditional love is a core characteristic of God's nature, offering an unchanging, all-encompassing love that accepts and embraces every person, regardless of their flaws, mistakes, or shortcomings. The idea of God as unconditional love challenges us to redefine how we understand love. In the human experience, love is often transactional. We love because we receive love in return, or because of the qualities we find in someone that make them lovable. But divine love transcends these conditions. It is a love that does not ask for anything in return. It is a love that loves us at our best and at our worst. a love that holds us in moments of joy and in moments of suffering. Understanding God as unconditional love allows us to experience a love that is never fleeting, never contingent, and never dependent on circumstances. One of the most powerful aspects of God's unconditional love is its capacity for healing. Many of us carry emotional wounds from the past, whether from rejection, loss, or betrayal. These wounds often shape our ability to love ourselves and others, leaving us feeling unworthy or disconnected. However, when we encounter God's unconditional love, we are invited to heal these wounds. Divine love assures us that we are worthy of love simply because we exist. Divine love assures us that we are worthy of love simply because we exist. It doesn't matter what we've done or what has happened to us. God's love is a healing balm that restores us to our true, unshakable worth. This love can mend broken hearts, help us forgive ourselves and others, and allow us to release the weight of guilt, shame, or regret. Additionally, God's unconditional love calls us to extend this love to others. The divine love that we receive is not meant to be hoarded, but shared. It inspires us to love others, not for what they can give us or how they behave, but simply because they too are worthy of love. This is a radical love, a love that seeks no reward, a love that is not limited by differences, opinions, or beliefs. It is a love that sees the inherent divinity in all people and calls us to treat them with compassion, respect, and kindness. By embodying God's unconditional love, we contribute to creating a world where love is the guiding force, healing divisions and fostering unity. God's unconditional love also offers us freedom. When we truly understand that we are loved unconditionally by the divine, we no longer need to seek validation or approval from external sources. We are free to be our authentic selves, without fear of judgment or rejection. This freedom allows us to embrace our imperfections and to walk through life with a sense of peace and confidence. Personal Agile, God's love teaches us that we are enough as we are, and this realization removes the need for constant striving or comparison to others. We are loved not because of what we achieve or who we become, but simply because we exist as part of the divine creation. Furthermore, the unconditional love of God invites us to transform our understanding of suffering. In moments of hardship or pain, it can be easy to feel abandoned or unloved by the divine. However, God's unconditional love assures us that we are never alone, even in our darkest moments. This love doesn't promise a life without pain, but assures us that we are held in the embrace of divine love, no matter what we go through. When we understand God's love in this way, we are better equipped to face life's challenges with resilience and faith, knowing that love will ultimately prevail, and that every challenge we face is an opportunity for growth and transformation through the experience of divine love. In addition, God's unconditional love encourages us to love ourselves fully. Often, we can be our own harshest critics, holding ourselves to standards that we would never impose on others. But divine love teaches us that self-love is not only essential for our well-being, but is also a reflection of the love that God has for us. When we accept God's unconditional love, we learn to treat ourselves with kindness, patience, and forgiveness. We begin to honor our own worth, cultivating a healthy self-esteem that is grounded in the truth that we are loved no matter what. This self-love empowers us to show up as our best selves, not in a perfect sense, but as beings who are worthy of love and grace. In conclusion, God as unconditional love is the foundation of the divine nature that calls us to experience a love beyond human limitations. It is a love that heals, transforms, and frees us from the constraints of judgment, fear, and inadequacy. This divine love teaches us to love ourselves and others unconditionally, creating a world that is more compassionate, understanding, and united. By embracing God's unconditional love, we are invited to live our lives with greater joy, peace, and authenticity, knowing that we are always held in the embrace of love, no matter the circumstances. Footnote: in the story of the alteration process,